Well done, Charlie. Great start to the carnival last week with old safety checker obliging for you. Is it a relief to get the first one under your belt?
Yes, it is. You know, the horses were fit and well going into the first meeting, but yeah, like I say, it's nice to get the first win out of the way, and then we can steadies the ship, and everyone can then look forward to the rest of the carnival.
He's a smashing little horse, isn't he?
He's been progressive. I mean, we found what we feel is his best trip. You know, back in the spring we were trying to stretch him to the mile, and then when he went to Glorious Goodwood, we he ran the 7 there. He'd been working with some sprinters at home, so that's the reason we sort of dropped back to 7, and actually went and won at Glorious Goodwood, and then went and won with Cam at Ascot. So he's just been a progressive little horse, typical Dubawi. You know, 3 cuts going into 4-year-old. He's going to be, he's a fun horse to have around.
Will he ever make the transition up to group company, do you think?
Well, he's gone up £6 up to 110 now, so it puts him on the borderline for that. So there's options for him for the rest of the carnival. Both options. There's handicap options and the chance of maybe dipping our toe into group company as well.
You had some other big guns out last week. Outstrip didn't seem to really enjoy the dirt in the Maktoum Challenge, or did you feel there were other excuses for that run?
Well, I wouldn't say, yeah, he didn't enjoy the dirt, he didn't enjoy the kickback, that's for sure. But I wouldn't, we'd probably be a bit brave to go back again. We probably will go back to the turf now, but it's just for the European horses coming over, I think it's a bit brave to say that they're not dirt horses just yet. They just have to adapt to the style of racing. He trains well on the dirt here, so I know he acts on the dirt. It's just the style of racing. It'll be hard from the gate and then be able to face the kickback, which the European horses aren't used to as yet, but they get used to it.
That's not something really you can teach them at home, I don't suppose.
No, this is the thing. So, like I said, the more racing they can get under the belt, hopefully, they're either going to progress, or you'll know quick enough whether they aren't.
So you'll probably look for a turf option with him next.
Yeah, I think we'll probably go to Zabeel Mile now. To be honest, yeah, we won't. Like I say, we're a bit too brave to test him again. But the option was always to go Zabeel Mile, but we would try him on the dirt because it does open up a few more doors for him if he were to act on it or enjoy it, which, as we all saw, he wasn't particularly in love with it.
Just a word for R2. I thought he was going to go really well in that sprint. Were you disappointed with that run?
No, I wasn't, to be honest, because we purposely gave him a nice break midsummer, and he came in here and his coat was a bit long, and he shipped out earlier last year, and so he came to hand sooner. I was actually quite pleased with the run, to be honest with you. His physically he was doing well. He just wasn't quite right there in his coat. The runs brought him on a ton, so looking forward to backing him up. And I'd expect a far better run next time.
Because last year, I mean, he was only sort of a length off a Group 1 winner. He proved himself in that top class company. That's
right. I mean, as we know, he rose through the ranks last year. He thrived out here. So I think we won the first handicap off a 97, left here off 110. So he's a horse that he's got. In handicaps, he's always going to find it a bit more of a struggle now. So we're purposely building towards some of the bigger targets second half of the season here.
You mentioned the dirt there with regards to Outstrip. How have you found the transition from a training point of view?
Well, we're fortunate here. But we have a dirt track here at Marmoon, so watching horses and seeing them act on it, and those that don't particularly act on it, it's been fine for myself, I have to say. And as respects to the racing on it, it's more just experience for these horses. That's all it is. Like I say, we don't have this, these conditions back in the UK. But I think you'd be a brave man to say after just one run he doesn't like it or he's not going to go on it, because I say it's all new to them, facing that kickback from sometimes from the gate as well. In Europe we sometimes will set off a bit steadier and build into a race. Now you have to brake hard and stay up. Everyone seems to be racing up on the pace to stay out, purposes out the kickback. Some horses are going to have to go through the kickback, or come through it, which is experience.
Do you find you need a fitter horse perhaps than you needed on the Tapeta last year?
Yeah, you probably will. I mean, the synthetics aren't renowned for being easier on horses, but fitness and conditioning is one aspect of it, and just generally your makeup of the horse is probably slightly different. Like I say, you need a stronger individual to go through the dirt, but those horses you'll hopefully you'll map those out during the course of the season. For us back in the UK. We'll start to pinpoint horses we feel that are going to adapt to it, and go forward with those horses.
So I was wondering, last year you prepped a lot of horses at Kempton, Lingfield that then came out here and did really well, such as Catter Mountain. I suppose it's a little bit more difficult this time, so we don't have any dirt tracks at home.
No, that's right. Like Catter Mountain, he's a horse that we're looking forward to for later on in the carnival. But he's a street cry, so ideally he's got the action. He's worked well on here, and that's why we were excited about him before his first start at the carnival last year, because his work was very good here. He's a grinder. A lot of those dirt horses generally are grinding type, so he's a horse that we confident he's going to. Again, his acting on it is fine. It's just the experience of just taking on the kickback, and we might just take a couple of runs to do that.
So bearing that in mind, where do you plan to start him off?
He's penciled in for Super Saturday Matchroom Challenge round 3. There's no rush with him, so again, we ran him at Kempton. He needed that run at Kempton. Went to Dundalk and won nicely there. We gave him a break. So he's just in light training, and he'll be brought along to purposely go hopefully to Matchroom Challenge round 3.
You said you liked him here last year, but did he surprise you with that run in the Dubai World Cup? It was a mighty effort.
No, because it's although we were posted wide, much to Mikkel's disappointment, but that night the track was riding slow, and again it was more of a speed bias track, I felt, on World Cup night. Admittedly, we were drawn out wide, so we had to ride a bit more of a waiting race and feed our way into the race. But when I knew it was riding slow, I just knew he's one horse, he just grinds up the straight. He doesn't really quicken, he lengthens and just keeps grinding. So I thought he could actually run a respectable race. To say I was hoping we'd be in the first 3, well, tongue in cheek, I probably might say that. But I thought he would run a respectable race just because I thought the track and the conditions would suit that evening.
Has it improved at all, do you think, since then?
He's strengthened again, he has. How much improvement's there? I think the improvement might be the switch to the dirt, to be honest with you. So time will tell.
Spring Carnival form of Australia has come to Maidan in a big way, and Long John is an easy Guineas winner.
Just ask about another of your Carnival winners from last year. Long John was so impressive first up when he won the Guineas. What's the plan for him going forward?
He's a horse we're going to try on the dirt. He's got his by street cry. Like I say, he won very impressively in the Guineas. Was disappointing in World Cup night, but again, we purposely dropped him in that evening to try and get the trip, and it was a speed bias evening. So I won't put just that down to us being beaten so far, but we took him back to Newmarket, and he ran a creditable race at Ascot over the mile. Then we tried to step up again beyond the mile at York, and he disappointed again. I don't think he gets beyond a mile now. He's every time he's been stepped up in Australia when they went over the mile, he got beaten. So we'll keep to the mile. It's done him the world of good. Again, we gave him a nice break midsummer there and turned him out as well back in the UK. And I think it's done his body clock a bit of good now. He looks a lot better than he did this time last year. So he's a horse that we're looking forward to for the second half of the carnival.
How soon in the European season do you start thinking, must give this horse a break and start thinking Dubai?
I think it just depends on how much they've done here during the previous season. It's like the likes of R2, he was busy, he was on the go out here. The likes of Long John, obviously he travelled from Australia, had 2 runs here, but they were well spaced out. But I think sometimes it's hard to tell how much the travelling's actually take out of them. Sometimes I feel it does take out more than we sometimes see. Coming from the likes of Australia anyway, travelling from the UK to here, they take that well. But so we're talking sort of midsummer, before Ascot. We're sort of penciling in horses that we feel are going to be potential carnival horses, and some of them have still got to progress to carnival level. But some of them that are at that level, you can say, well, maybe one more run and we'll give them a break, and that's their purpose or their job is going to be for the winter.
It's earlier than I thought. Speaking of travelling, you've been doing quite a lot in recent weeks, going backwards and forwards. We must talk about the all-weather championships in the UK, because you're doing fantastically well. I think a 45% strike rate when I last checked, and it's all new really for Godolphin, this sort of change of direction.
It is, yeah. It was with management, we all sat down together, and like I said, we mapped out what we were planning to do for the winter. To be honest, the Winter Challenge, it was a programme there that we looked at more for the horses' sake. It wasn't we were going to think, oh, we're going to try and be champion, all-weather trainer or anything like that. It was more that we had a lot of backward 2-year-olds there that hadn't got to run into them, and generally, as a rule, we've not ran any horses back in the UK after sort of mid-November, but we've got some of those types that just need that run. It's just a nice education to put them away for as late developing 2-year-olds into their 3-year-old career. So we mapped that out as with some of the 2-year-olds to give them a chance, be patient with them, give them a run on the all-weather during the winter, and see where we are in the spring with them. And then in doing so, we sort of had another little team of horses there that weren't quite carnival rated, but were handed little horses that we thought, well, there's a nice little programme back there in the UK with that all-weather championship. So we've just let them run away for the winter, and they've been running well. So it's good for the yard. A great team effort by everybody. We've got a team here, a smaller team here, but the guys back in England are a bit colder than we are here, and they're working hard, and it's done the yard good because it's just kept morale and just kept all the system going. Normally we would close down for 3 or 4 months of the winter, so I was only back there last week, and like I say, the guys are doing a great job, and the horses look well, and touch wood, at the moment they're running well.
Are there any that are there at the moment that have done well in the last few weeks that might have done well enough to earn themselves a late trip out here, do you think?
Not really. Those sort of horses. We had horses there that started off the winter carnival in the UK. They're off ratings of 80s, mid-80s, and they've rose to 100 now. Generally you've got to be a 95 horse. You have to come here after the 95 to 100. Realistically, you need to be a 100 horse to be able to get a run here. So they weren't really in that bracket. And like I say, they've gone through the handicap back in the UK now. So I wouldn't say we'll be coming out here with pounds in hand.
I see. Must ask about Sir Fever. He's attracting attention the world over, I think, and Godolphin have traditionally done so well with these South American types on the dirt in the past. How has he been since he got to you?
Yeah, he's been here just over 3 weeks now, so haven't done a great deal with him. He's just been in very light exercise. We purposely sent a couple of lads down to Uruguay when the purchase was made, just to try and speed things along a little bit, because just the South American horses, their style of track work is a lot different to what ours would be. So we sent some lads down there just to get to know the horse and start to get him into sort of our potential way of training, which was good. It was it's bought us a bit more time. We're a month ahead of schedule before we even landed here. So he's a smashing looking individual. Obviously he's the second coming that's coming out of Uruguay. So he's an exciting horse for the carnival.
Of course, he's very versatile. He's won over a sprint distance, I think right up to 1.5 miles. So where on earth did you start?
He's going to head towards Super Saturday. We'll look at the Al-Bastakia. He's eligible for that and also Mattoon Challenge Round 3. So, but I wouldn't want to put any pressure on the horse to say what we're going to do with him at the moment. We'll let him settle in and acclimatise, and another month down the line we'll be a lot wiser of where we are with him.
One last question. Is there a horse we haven't mentioned that you're excited about for the remainder of the carnival?
Got a couple of an American imports, horse called Footbridge. He'd be a horse that he's only just arrived, so it's still quite early, but any of those American horses are going to be exciting because they have got the experience of these conditions. So they've all just been in the last couple of weeks now, so we'll take our time with them, but he could be a horse maybe for the Mattoon Challenge Round 3 and then see where we are after that.
He's Grade 1 place, I think, if I'm right, over in America.
That's
for
right,
Kieran.
That's right. So like I say, he's a good looking individual, travelled well, and early on, but we'll see where we are come mid-February, sorry.